Okay, hello. That's a lot more hype than was necessary. But anyway, I'm very happy to see you here. For the next 2 hours here, we're doing Confluence Demo Day, which will be a sort of a bit of a mixed bag, a little bit of content, and then also you will see 10 startup pitches. We're starting the morning a bit slow. It will pick up speed. So for those of you who don't know what Confluence is, it was a Deeptech pre-accelerator organized by the Investment Development Agency of Latvia together with Helve, BSV Ventures, and Baltics Sandbox. And how it worked is basically the program selected 10 Deeptech startups, paired them with partners for proof of concept pilot projects, and also gave them some little funding to sort of make it happen and to actually see whether the product has the potential to survive in the market. And so today, you're going to see the results of these partnerships. In some cases, they have gone a bit further. In some cases, they still have a lot of things to do. And they've just done the planning part, and the work will actually happen outside of the program. But it really depends on each partnership. But before that, we're going to be having a panel discussion. But I have a rule that I live by, and I think everyone should live by, which is that you never ask a woman about her age, and you never ask a Deeptech startup about their revenue. Because it's never a good answer. The revenue will come in 5 years, in 6 years, in whatever years. So the selling part is actually the most complicated thing when you're building a Deeptech startup. Maybe in some cases it might be easier, and some a bit more harder. So today, we're going to start with talking about how easy, how hard, how challenging it might be to actually sell your Deeptech solution, especially in the region that we're in. And for that, I'm going to invite the moderator to the stage, and I guess Liiva will invite everyone else. Or do you want me to do it? Okay, so Liiva Parkone from Helve, Monta Williamson from Kampanen, Egle from BSV Ventures, and Aleksandrs from Nako Technologies.
Thank you, Aris. A really nice introduction. You started with some advice on how not to ask questions. So I will try to follow up with asking a few questions. Do you have the mic? Oh, amazing. So yeah, welcome. Amazing to see all of you here. So basically, before we hear the actual real startups and their pitches, we will do a bit of talking. As I like to say, discussions are Latvia's Nokia. So that's our magic thing. But I have with me here Monta, who is a founder in an early stage startup, and Aleksandrs from Nako Technologies, who is already quite an experienced startup founder who has already kind of walked through quite a lot of forests, and Egle, who will be kind of representing the investor side of this kind of tricky question of both revenue and money and everything else that is the tricky part of building a Deeptech startup. So I think we can jump in, and I will also invite the panelists to, contradict each other, hopefully, or agree with each other. But, we could start from the very beginning. Monta, you are right now in the early stages of building a Deeptech startup, which is, I'm a huge fan of it as well. And you're also part of the cohort here at Confluence. So what are the trickiest parts of building? What are the things that no one told you about that maybe surprised you the most? And kind of a follow-up part from that question, when you have so many different things to focus on and a small team, so you're the founder, you have to do everything. How do you decide what to focus on first? Is it the IP, is it the tech, the team, or the money?
Well, thank you for the question, and nobody told me anything about this before I started. I thought, I always saw startups when they have raised their funds, so you don't see the journey before that, which I'm obviously walking now. And we kind of went with the flow from start school. I'm a student at the start school, and we had to build our startups, or we had to come up with an idea. And actually, I was quite lucky because I had a problem that I wanted to solve, and we just decided to do it on a little weekend project, and it grew into a bigger project. What I learned through that not everyone can be your team member, and you cannot know people from just being around with them in the school. There was also the question about the idea and protecting, and I experienced so I started in January. And on 2 occasions after pitching, I experienced that somebody actually went, one was in an Antler meeting with the VCs, and somebody had pitched my idea before me. And they said, oh, there's actually a person who is on the same line, go and talk. And I went to talk, and the person said like, oh, I met your CTO today, and he told me the idea. So I never thought I had to protect my ideas because it's, you're passionate about it. So I went a little bit maybe more carefully when I explain, not so maybe much in a detail. But I think the biggest part is deciding what you want to build, and then when you listen to investors, what they want to hear, and actually also getting all the answers. Because when I met up with the first investor, I didn't know answers to, I think, 80% of the questions because I'm so fresh in this game. I got asked how am I going to generate revenue in the week by week. I don't know. So I learned to actually just listen and say, I don't know, I haven't thought about it. Maybe you have suggestions. So just being really humble and learning.
Thank you. I will actually follow up on those first pitch decks with Egla maybe a bit later, but it's a really interesting topic. But Alexandris, you have kind of already, crossed that valley of death, you could call, for the Deeptech startups. So kind of what moved the needle for you maybe? And if you would be starting out right now, what would be the things that you wouldn't do, or what would be the advice you would give for, because we have quite a lot of early stage deep tech startups, what would you tell them not to do or maybe do differently?
Okay, thanks a lot. And it's working? Okay, yes. So first of all, it's super nice to be in this unbalanced panel. I like the setup. So I think also women are doing really good job. So there will be a lot of panels afterwards filled only with women. So thanks for that. Yeah, so there were a lot of questions. So I'll try to remember what were the questions. So the one question is, so what I would do differently, or if I would do something differently. And the answer is yes, I would do completely differently if it would be now, developing the business. The reason for that is that you need to be, in a way, kind of with your startup reflecting current situation. You should follow the trends. So when we were starting, we were 100% focused on green hydrogen, and it was a trend at that time. So it's actually picked up the company quite well. Then that helped to go through this death valley and help the company to develop. If I would do it now, I would not do the same. And we actually changed on the way. We expanded the field in which we operate. So it's not green hydrogen anymore. So we're focused on critical material, rare earths. Now this is a trend. And I think this is something that can help startups to catch the wave. I know that you're runners, we discussed before. I'm surfers, so I'm about catching the waves. So this is the way.
So what would be maybe some more practical advice you would give to these early stage founders on maybe more on the concept of running a company in the early days, on how do you decide where to put your time in? Where do you focus on most? Do you focus on the product and the tech, or you focus on finding the right team, or would you raise early or later?
I would say it's my belief that first of all, you need to find out customer. Even if it's super early idea, your task not to play so much of developing the product itself, making it perfect. Go to the customer, even with an idea. Find here in Latvia or in Lithuania or some neighboring countries, first customer who would confirm in some form that that idea makes sense. And also, this idea should address, again, the big issue. It should not be a small niche issue. It should be a big one that concerns the whole globe. Then we can grow unicorns like Estonian. We don't have Estonians here.
If I can add, customer is not only to see if you have the market, you have somebody there ready to buy your product, but also it can be your partner in the development process. constantly giving you feedback and constantly helping you to shift your focus in the right direction, not only wasting like your time on the unnecessary details, but helping you to accelerate a bit faster.
Yeah, I actually wanted to follow up with you on this. Like Aris mentioned, you don't ask deep tech startups about revenue. So we all know it's legendary hard also for deep tech startups to raise funding because they have such a kind of long-term focus. So how do you, as an investor, make these decisions when it's quite often a very long process until you get the money in? And what do you see most often from the Baltic teams that makes you say kind of, okay, not yet? And what are the maybe common mistakes? And what is it that you want to see in that pitch deck that makes you decide that, yeah, this is a company we are very interested to invest in?
Yeah, this is a bit difficult question to say so, because in BSV we jump pretty early, like at Tyrrell 3 or even in Tyrrell 4 or even Tyrrell 3. If you see that it's possible for startups with a little bit capital to jump to Tyrrell 6 or something like that. But I myself in the pitch decks, I like to see a lot of technical details, just because I'm technology analyst and I need to analyze, to read, to understand what is going on. But I know that my colleagues that are coming from finance backgrounds, from economic backgrounds, they like to see the numbers. How can you make some benefits for customer? How can you reduce the prices? How can you make it faster, cheaper, and so on? So if you can not only say that we are able to do these things, but also have some quantities, some numbers saying how fast, how cheaper, and so on. This is like a moving point. Also, it's great to see, to meet the teams and to see that the teams have good dynamics, and you see that if someone from the team, for example, is a bit maybe nervous, so somebody else can take care of some questions and so on, and you see that they have clear understanding who's taking care of what tasks and so on. So it also gives this understanding that this team can move forward, because usually at the early stages of deep tech, it's not how much revenue you're making, because you're not making that revenue at the very, very early stage. It's more about having at least the least amount of risks as possible. And with that, the investors can see that, okay, maybe in the future you can make something. So,
what has been your experience? So you've already pitched to a few of the first investors and showed them your pitch decks, and you said that you would kind of do it a bit differently now. What did they tell you, and how easy do you think it was up until now?
So we pivoted 3 times since January, and everything you're saying here is so on spot because of about the customers. But with the pitching and pitch decks and the investors, there's always a question: how are you gonna sell it B2B? And I had B2C always. The product was for at the beginning for elderly people, so it's a B2C. Then later, even still now. So I always, and I asked also on the Confluence program, I asked my mentors, like, okay, I get asked this question, so how do I answer it? Because I don't see it, and I also don't come from this too much of B2B. I've always been a freelancer or solopreneur, so it's a new way to learn. But actually, we found one answer. So maybe if I have this question today, I'll answer it later when I'm pitching.
If I may, so as sorry, you finished, right?
Yeah.
I think even though like you're an early stage investor, and of course it doesn't make sense to show revenues to you because this is not the stage where you get the revenue. But what I noticed, if you can give the smell of money to investors, because investors...
How can you give that smell of money?
Yeah, so that's I'm about to. So you need to give the smell of money to an investor, because this is the kind of the KPI that, or the most sensitive sensor of investor that they have. So what we discovered at early stage, we push, okay, I told that we go to customers, we talk to them, and they say, yeah, the product is super interesting. The next thing we say, let's do a test of like some, in our case, it's nano-coatings. So let's do nano-coating for you. They say, yeah, it would be nice. Okay, can you pay for that? So if your customers start to pay you early, then investors really like, but you can confirm or not. If they see, especially big customers paying to you, or even startups paying to you for the tests. Then you can give the smell of money that customers are serious, and then you can show the projections and the pricing in future, which will be completely different to the test price. So yeah, that's the edit.
Paid pilots, to say so.
Paid pilot. I think with investors it works really well. With customers, it also works really well, because when we had few customers that were not paying, and you can immediately see how not serious they are about working with you. So it's actually when you push your customer to pay, you make also your company as a serious partner in a way. So they want to check it, test it, report how it was, what is the feedback and stuff like that.
That is something that we've been also working on to discover which is the fan of like, yay, you're building a startup, it's cool, and okay, I'm gonna pay for it because I really need it, not just because you like it. So we're still in that stage, and it's a good discovery.
But like geographically, I discovered the region which don't want to pay for samples. Can you guess what is the region?
Well, the US would probably want a freebie. They're used to it, no?
US is paying, and they're paying good money.
Okay.
Which region doesn't like to pay?
Baltics?
No, Baltics is also fine with paying.
Then I don't know.
Germany?
No, it's further away. So China is the one that they hate to pay. Koreans, Japanese, yes. Chinese, they hate to pay. So if in US you can get a couple of thousands for paid test, in China the maximum is a couple of hundreds that they can pay.
Mond raised an interesting question about B2B versus B2C. Do you think would you kind of agree that it's way harder for a B2C startup to raise? Because we see quite a lot of funds that actually focus very specifically on B2B, and this kind of more customer focused funding. Would you agree that it's way harder and there is less funding available for that particular direction?
That's a bit harder question to answer for me, because I think when it comes to our fund, we do more investments in B2B or even B2G or different kind of business models. But when it comes to B2C, I think the mistake with the startups is targeting not the right investors, and maybe sometimes chasing the ones that like to invest in B2B, B2G, or something like that. And for you as a startup, you need to find the ones that are more focusing on different kind of business models. And maybe it looks like it's harder just because you're doing a lot and putting effort not in the right places, but you need to find your match when it comes to investor, and maybe then you will see how easy it will be, because usually investors also have their own networks, and if you're investing in B2B, B2G or something like that, then might as well that you have other funds in your network that would co-invest together with you. But if you're a fund focusing on B2C, and if you see a great startup, then usually you're talking about the startup in those like networking events and so on. So even, for example, if you as a B2C startup, you find that good match, so maybe it will be even easier for you to move, I guess, in the fundraising process. But to answer the question and to come back to the question, I can't really answer, because I'm more, I guess, in the other business models than B2C. So,
okay. I mentioned there's the Baltic kind of Deeptech report, and while reading it, it seems quite optimistic that we see quite a lot of growth in funding for Deeptech startups, and there's a lot of enterprise value, and the numbers are going up, and the kind of topic of our discussion is also that the times they are changing, and the amount of Deeptech startups generally being funded it was like close to 50% of all the startups in the Baltics being funded. So you, Alexander, specifically, but maybe you can also add to this, because you have been in this ecosystem for already quite a while. Would you agree that there is significant optimism and growth in this area? Is there more funding and more startups, or is it just on paper?
No, for sure, there is much I have experience of making 2 startups now. So it's the first startup I built in 2010, which was sold to a German company, and then we started this one. So since that time, there were few Deeptech. It was almost, this Deeptech was not even as the known kind of abbreviation. Nobody knew what it is. Now everyone knows. So nowadays, a lot of startups in Baltics in working, especially in deep tech, clean tech. So now AIs and bio, yeah, dual use now. It's a fashion. What we are lacking, especially in Latvia and I think in Lithuania as well, is the financing that is attracted to deep tech. So deep tech needs a lot of financing, and when we go to conferences or some acceleration events together with other European startups, the same company somewhere in Germany would be like 10 times more finance than the usual startup in Latvia and Lithuania. The most it seems to be that we just don't have money, which is not the case. You can get them everywhere. I think our startups, they don't understand one thing. I found out it's in Estonia. I figured out that they discovered that for deep tech, it's crucial to get grants. And they're super hard working on getting grants. So if you will take every Estonian deep tech, with some probably exceptions, you will find out that the majority of the financing on the early stage is actually grants. Because you can associate your startup with clean tech, now defense. So all these can be financed by the grants. It's super toxic in a way for startups to finance purely by VC money or with private money, because you will lose a lot of shares and you will end up, kind of financed on a later stage. So that's the observation I got. But there are many startups in deep techs right now.
So you're saying that going after grants is the right way to do it?
This is the way. This is the way I discovered when I started this company. After acceleration in Build It, I went to Beamline in Estonia, and suddenly they were like almost telling you need to go for big grants. That's why we went for EIC, and I think this is the missing step for many of Latvian and Lithuanian ones.
I agree with that, but I would say go for grants, but also have a good investor next by your side that could guide you in a way through all of this granting process, like all the fundraising processes and so on. Because when it comes to deep tech, usually people are coming from the founders are coming from backgrounds of engineering, science, and so on. So they are smart people, they understand a lot, but they have never been introduced to the terminology, to how business world works, and investors know that. And in a way, all of this granting helps you to keep your cap table very healthy, as you said, but also having some investor, some VC, somebody from this venture capital world, business world, will help you to understand how to navigate all of this growth process. So focus on the granting, but also have a bit of mixed mindset to the financing, just because you want to have somebody very, smart, that is ready to help you in the areas that you don't have experience, to say so.
Totally agree. So it's, if you want, because sometimes the VC money, they are quicker to get in a way. So you need to have this quicker money to initiate the process. But you immediately need to focus on grants in deep tech.
So, Monte, you are kind of representing these first impressions aspect of the ecosystem. So what is your first impression? Do you think that kind of VC money is easy to get? Do you think that it's... do you have a feeling that funding is there and it's available and it's just a matter of getting to it and convincing the investors that your idea is the best? Or have they been, when you talk to them, do you feel like they're kind of supportive and the mentors are there, or it's still hard?
I would be on the positive side, I think, and because also for the Confluence, we got found out, I received an email that, hey, there is this opportunity, And like I said, I'm freshly in the field. I don't know. I just see someone maybe suggesting there is a fund, there is a maybe there is a meetup or something. But for what I have talked and when I have pitched, I don't know. But since January, I have the feeling if I really wanted to, I would go after it and I would get it. Like I have that feeling. I don't know. Maybe it's just how the VCs and panels they talk, because they say there's a lot of funding available in Latvia, but you have to have a good idea. And I understand also that, and I understand how it works, that it's not just like, hey, here's a pile of money, do whatever you want with it. It's going to be hard work. And do I want it now with this idea? Do I have the right team? It's also all those questions that you have as a founder, because it's something in front of you afterwards when you get the funding. And in TechChill, I talked more to angel investors. They were super positive. They invest small sums, but they were very different from the VC. But I got a lot of positive contacts, actually, people who would love to come on the board as well, which I thought that's a great idea, because then I have someone who is kind of like with a like, hey, this is a good idea, this startup, and they can actually vote for me, and we can move forward. So I think there's a lot. It's just you have to go and like be out there. And I have been saying yes to every email, every meetup, every breakfast, every panel, everything, and it's working, yeah. And with all the investors also from the BSV Ventures, we talked about many things, but I felt more like they're my mentors, so it was very easy to ask. It's not like I'm raising money and like not to ask the wrong question. Like I asked everything that I was interested in, and it's very useful because you feel free afterwards when you pitch or when you get when you answer the questions. Yeah, so just saying a lot of yes.
So, Alexander, do you think that it's always been that way, or has the kind of ecosystem and community quite grown and changed? Because I see a lot of positives from what Monta is saying, her experience, that there are a lot of investors and mentors, and they're also there just to support. And do you think it's
definitely changed? So now I agree with Monta with the approach. You should always say yes, especially if you're invited on a panel, and so you need to bring your company. It's also something we are missing. And again, we can see in successful countries, they are promoting themselves like hell, participating everywhere. But it's changed. So in 2010, there was nothing like that. So there were no interest, no investors. Now it's a pile of money. It's almost like you need to be, the only idea should be appealing, and the team should be nice, then you can get money. There is no problem in money. In 2010, there was nothing. You're like fighting for this money, and the terms are super bad. Now the terms are good. A lot of new investors coming to the field with an interest to clean tech, deep tech, defense now, dual use.
So, Egla, would you agree with the assessment that there's just basically a pile of money?
Not quite, but there is investors ready to invest, but you need to prove that you're ready to take that money. Sometimes you can have amazing technology, amazing team, but you still need to learn a lot and to have your answers to the questions. And investors see that. And some investors, when they see, for example, good technology, good team, but they also sense that, oh, they are very early and very young, and we need maybe to first coach them, mentor them, before they are ready to get this money. So you take them as your, I don't know, incubatees, mentees or something like this. You get them prepared for that money, because you can also see if you give them like 50K, 25K, they will not know what to do with that. And you need to prepare them first. So there is a pile of money, but also there is a long way to get it. So.
And just following up on this with a more kind of serious question, when is the right time to raise money? Because we also have a lot of early stage startups from the Confluence cohorts, and I know all the startups in the early stages, they're thinking whether to raise now in the beginning and use that money to help builds, or rather should we kind of build up until some specific points and then go after the money. And obviously there's no right question, but what would you suggest these startups to consider?
Do not wait too long, in a way. Okay, when it comes to deep tech, usually I see one of the mistakes that startup founders like to do. They like to seek for perfection and to have the fully ready product to start fundraising. But usually, if you also go for the grants and so on, you have too old company for investors to consider, to see what is possible, and you just can't invest in the companies to say so. So don't go after this perfection. Have this, I don't know, minimal viable product, a bit of positive lab results or something like this that proves that idea is viable, it works, and so on. We also gonna test it as investors with the help of experts, with the help of our network to see if it's okay, if it's working or it's not working. And for early stage, if it's if it checks all the boxes of okay, this works, this also makes sense, but it's not like fully prepared product, for us it's okay. Maybe for like later stage Series A investors, they already want to see working products, working devices, and revenues and so on. But for pre-seed and seed, it's more about okay, does this work on like smaller scale, and if there is enough potential for you to move. So yeah.
But just from the other side, so I agree that you need to you don't need to wait too long going to investors. The important thing not to give up so many shares at this stage, because the main risk, if you only started and you want to get 50K, you would probably be asked, you know, to give up for 10%, which is too much. So at the beginning, you need to give up like maybe a few percentages, because you want to arrive to Series A and still be able to raise without losing control.
Yes, totally agree. And to add on, you need to be very smart about your fundraising and somehow have this mindset of, okay, with this funding, I don't know, with a small amount of this, I can unlock specific doors, specific milestones that I need to reach, and then I can bump up my valuation. And always think about fundraising rounds like, okay, I get the money, I do something that helps me to de-risk the company and helps me to up the valuation, and then I can like be healthy with my cap table and move through this fundraising process quite easily. But also when it comes to Deeptech, it needs a lot of capital, so that fundraising will be never ending at some point in early stage. If you want to fundraise like a little amount and a bit bigger amount and so on, so it will be constantly fundraising, but it will also help you in a way to still keep the cap table healthy. So. Yeah.
So what I hear is that you need to have a very clear and specific plan on what you want to achieve with that specific money, and only then.
And if you have smart investor, they can help you not to dilute so much that you become uninvestable startup. So I agree with that. If it's a smart, not toxic investor, it's very healthy to have the one early on your journey.
Yes, and yes.
Amazing. So we are slowly moving towards the end of the discussion, but there's just one question I also wanted to ask from maybe a little bit of a bigger picture perspective. I also feel like for the past 5-10 years, also the verticals have changed quite a lot in Deeptech, and I know you see a lot of pitch decks. You've been here quite a while, and Monte has taken part in a lot of pitching and hackathons and batches with alongside other startups. So I don't like the word unicorn, but what do you think will be the most promising verticals in the next 5 years that you are already see growing, and that specifically from maybe the Baltics, what's our strong sides and which we should bet on generally?
It will be very biased because my backgrounds are in life science. So I will focus on something that I really like and I love, which is life science. And now I see that advanced therapeutic medicines are very moving forward, and a lot of research are poured into that. But the time to market of advanced therapeutic medicines are very long. So I don't think it will be something in that area, but something very close to that area, which is like a tool or device or something that can help to make better advanced therapeutic medicines. So this is like something that I'm looking forward and I would love to see. But I think also dual use can be very promising. Having understanding what is going today with geopolitics. But yeah, my answer would be something from life science.
Yeah, for dual use, I agree. If you have something right now, then you can catch the wave and ride it. If you don't have something and you're just starting with an idea, maybe it's too short wave. So it's too short to become a unicorn, in my view. So our company is more focusing on clean tech, and we believe this is kind of long-term trend. We need to survive as humanity. So anyway, there will be a lot of, and we see a lot of investors specifically orienting and helping planet to survive. So I guess this is the area where we can grow a lot of unicorns.
Monta, what are the most interesting startups that you see from all of the events and all of your cohorts alongside of you?
Well, yesterday the one about the electricity on the moon blew my mind, and I thought, what am I doing here with my AI? Something. But I just got inspired. But we actually have someone in Start School building what you just mentioned, so I would love to introduce you, and maybe you can see. I don't know, maybe they have pivoted. But
Okay, good.
Okay, thank you so much. So the screen tells me that the time is up in big red letters. So just summarizing, it's important to find the right investors that help you, give you smart money and don't take too much of your company. Raise money when you know what you will be able to, what you want to achieve with it, and be smart about it, and catch the wave. I understand the best advice of the day. So thank you so much. Thank you, the panelists.
Thank you.
You.